Good evening and welcome to the June 3rd, 2024 Grafton Board of Health meeting. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting of the Grafton Board of Health is being conducted remotely by board members and members of the public. Remote participation by the public for any matter for which the board allows public participation will be via the Zoom raise hand feature. If you raise your hand on Zoom, you'll be enabled at an appropriate point to enter the meeting via voice or video to make a comment or to ask a question. In all cases, whether in person or remote, please identify yourself by name and address for the record. Every vote will be taken by roll call. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. As a preliminary matter, this is Jen Maynard, Vice Chair of the Board of Health. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Dan Finn.
Dan Finn here.
Austin Magnet.
Austin Magnet is present.
Bill Mueller.
Bill Mueller here.
Thank you. And Karen Galvin will join us shortly. Staff and anticipated speakers on the agenda, when I call your name, please respond to the affirmative. Nancy Connors, can you hear us? Nancy is here, but hopefully fixing the audio. Let me see if I can fix her on this side. Go. Nancy, can you try us? Can you hear us?
Nancy Connors here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Nancy
Thank
Connors
you.
present.
We can hear you. Thank you. All right, let's see. I'm looking at all your names. See if I have everybody. Ian Wong.
Here.
Devon Thornton.
Here.
Sarah Harris.
Here.
Thank you. And one more round for the board, Karen Gostowski-Govan. Karen, can you hear us?
Almost.
There we go, almost.
There we go.
There you are.
Finally, I don't know. Of course, it's like late because of me. And then the speakers are like not working on the personal computer for some reason when I'm doing the test. And this is why I always do a test before just to make sure I'm using it today. And the thing's like not working. I'm like, seriously, could anything else? You know.
So you're responding in the affirmative, you're here. And you can
Yes,
hear
I am. You can see me and now I know you can actually also hear me.
Perfect. All right, well, if I could have a motion to open the meeting?
This is Dan Finn. I'd like to make a motion to open this meeting.
Is there a second?
This is Bill Mueller. I second that motion.
And all in favor?
Dan Finn, aye.
Bill Mueller, aye.
Austin Magnet, aye.
Karen Gostowski-Govan, aye.
Jen Maynard, aye. Karen, would you like to take it?
All righty.
We're ready for the agenda.
Okie dokie. All right, perfect timing. Had I not had the speaker issue, I would have actually been here on time. All right, so first agenda item is the Alliance updates. I don't know who wants to take it away first.
Sarah, do you want to go first?
I can go first because I'll probably be short and sweet. I just ran the report in case anything came in last minute. But it was, knock on wood, a very quiet month in the month of May, which we like and accept. With that warm weather coming, we still, like I like to mention, encourage, ticks and mosquito repellent, especially being out in these longer days with the more light outside. But honestly, not much to report here. Everything looked very good in the month of May from a nursing standpoint. Any questions?
I just have one updated, Sarah. As you all know, we're trying to place Karina. We did find a candidate where we just have some low, what's the word I'm trying to say? Like this office issues about getting her to accept, doing reference checks and all those type of things. But excuse me, nothing's official yet, so I'll keep you up to date. So we've done our search, we're looking at candidates. We just have to dot the i's and cross the t's, and then as soon as things are settled, we'll let you know.
Thank you. Happy to hear it's progressing. All right, Devon.
All right. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So since our last meeting, we've had 12 food inspections and 1 pool inspection. There were 2 complaints. Actually, one complaint. It was over a dumpster that overflowed. I don't know if we discussed this the last meeting or not. That was addressed.
No, that one just came in, Devon. I never gave it to you.
Oh, okay. I thought we had one last month as well. Okay. Well, that's one to be addressed then.
And we closed out 217 Cumbies. And we
yes.
closed
Oh,
down
that's right.
119 Old Westboro.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you, Nancy. That's all I have to report on from inspectional side, unless you just want me to name off all the Title V inspections.
Oop,
Want
Dan.
me to do it for you?
Just one question, Devon,
Yes.
on inspections, Hubbard softball field. Do they have like a hot dog stand or something? What do they have for food? That's I'm not even sure where that is. North Grafton, I guess.
They actually they bring out a pit and they kind of cook hot dogs and hamburgers after the games.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
Devon, he's going
Yes.
to expand. He's going to expand sausages, onions, and peppers. There was a death in the family, so we haven't heard from him. So we plan on calling him at the end of this week.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, as long as they're doing the right thing and putting in for permits, getting inspected, and then handling everything the way they're supposed to be, that's a win.
Thanks to Nancy, we're getting a lot of wins. She's making sure it happens. Nobody gets past Nancy.
Well, I know I'll see it sometimes thanks to, social media and stuff. And I remember like way back when there was like I forgot which one it was now, but like someone doing a home kitchen kind of situation. And it was like, of course, we don't necessarily see everything with the Alliance. We're not seeing every little inquiry or anything that comes through every single time, unless it's a concern, a complaint, or whatever. They're looking for some type of variance or something. And I was like, Nancy? She's like, yeah, we got this one. Okay, I just want to make sure the name didn't ring a bell, because it's not like a restaurant that you see like or hear about like, hey, such and such restaurants opening up. So yeah, the little ones, the home establishments, etc., are always the ones where it's like, I hope they're doing the right thing. But let's put it on the radar, because if they're going to announce it publicly on Facebook, then it's,
We'll get them one way or another. Going to continue with the septic?
Yeah.
Okay, so the disposal system construction permits, 18 Apple Ridge is a major repair, and 8 Hudson is new construction. That house they are going to take it down.
Okay.
Certificate of compliance, we finished out 31 George Hill. The septic is done and signed off. 158 George Hill for soil testing. That's a major repair. Title V inspections. Devon's been going with Phil on these inspections. 86 North Street, they inspected the D box. And 68 Paulette, they inspected the component. And Title V inspection report reviews on the first page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was 6 of the first 6 passed. 86 was a conditional pass, needing the new D box, which they did, and they have their certificate of compliance. And 25 Valley View is a complete failure. The letter went out today.
That's a
with all the,
fairly,
paperwork.
that's a
good.
relatively new development. I mean, not brand new, but if I'm thinking correctly, it's
Yes.
not an
so
old neighborhood, let's put it that way.
Phil and I checked it out, and it's never been touched.
Yeah. Well,
And that's all I have.
any questions on the inspections, anyone? All right, any other questions for Ian, Devon, or Sarah, or Nancy related to the inspections also? Okay, well, seeing no one off mute, no hands raised, no virtual hands raised, so we will move on. Thank you, Alliance team, as always, for your work and help and joining our meetings, obviously, to give us the latest and greatest information and for being there when we have questions. COVID-19 updates, not much to say that's changed anything, which is not a bad thing, obviously. In terms of COVID, obviously, it's still out there, as we all know. I know there was 1 or 2 new variants they were talking about, I think sometime between the last meeting and this meeting, closer to the last meeting, but given the warmer weather and everything, as like Sarah mentioned, you know, we'd expect there wouldn't be that much, hopefully, from a flu, COVID, RSV, etc. Perspective. It looks like, Sarah, you put in the chat, less than 5 reported cases in May in Grafton. So yeah, wouldn't expect anything too crazy based on what we're hearing. Of course, we all know that, we also know that, like we've been talking about for a while now, you know, not everyone is testing, not everyone obviously is reporting, but all that being said, you know, it's not gone. So our usual statement that if someone themselves or with family members, etc., that are immunocompromised, elderly, or more susceptible to COVID or any of the respiratory illnesses, to take the typical precautions that we've been talking about. Make sure you have, you know, any latest and greatest vaccinations, boosters, RSV. I'll put the plug out there again, you know, since we're on respiratory, it's a little past the flu shot season, but the RSV vaccine is still available for anyone who meets the criteria, since we are talking respiratory illnesses. So fingers crossed we can stay kind of, we'll call it status quo throughout the summer and at least early to mid fall when it comes to respiratory illnesses, up, you know, including COVID. All right. Opioid settlement funds. I don't know who wants to, out of this group, kick off, chat about status of the opioid settlement funds topic.
Excuse me, I can start. We didn't meet last May, right? Because I think one of us was out of the country, right? Yeah, good for you. That was great. Yeah, but yeah, we're still moving forward. I met with Solo today, and we're really coordinating right now with all the other towns to form up for the position. We're going to be putting that out, the coordinator. And then we did talk to the city to help us. It'll be a separate fund that Worcester won't have their hands on, but it'll be a central fund that we can pay the money from there, pay anything we need to. So we don't have to do a cost reimbursement with each of you, but we'll keep track of what's spent in each town and what's spent. And right now, what we're discussing too is, do we need to set up a new contract about the coordinator position? Or can we attach it to the IMA and make an adaptation to that? And so that's what we're trying to figure out, and we'll get back to the towns about the best way to do that. Okay.
And
Yeah, and Ian, you'll get back, or you'll email us with an invite for the next date and time and place.
Yeah, because it's usually right the last Tuesday. Is it Tuesdays? I think the last Tuesday of each month. So I'll make sure with Chief that the room's all set up, but I'll get that out.
Yep, great, thanks.
And
And
yeah.
could you put myself and Beth on that email? We'd like to attend that meeting.
Okay, yeah,
That's
okay,
okay.
yeah, let me just make sure I thought you were, but I'll make myself a note and get you onto that list.
Great.
Okay.
Bill, did you have? I saw you jumped off mute.
Oh, I had nothing to say about the opiates. You know, as Ian had said, we didn't meet. I apologize for being out of the country. It's interesting, actually, if we get back to COVID, no one wears masks anymore. We both came down with a respiratory illness 2 days after we got back. Chris is positive for COVID. I'm negative. She claims I did the test wrong, but
She's trying to tell a doctor.
you know, but
You gotta pick your battles. Bill.
still a risk. I mean, there's obviously still a risk when particularly when you're traveling, and you know, when there was someone in a long train ride next to us who was sniffling and coughing, and the whole 4.5 hours that we're on the train. So we wore masks, but you know. But fortunately, I think that the vaccinations do clearly confer significant protection. They don't prevent it altogether, but they certainly attenuate the severity of the illness.
Sorry you both came down with something, but at least regardless of whether you did the test right or wrong,
Yeah.
regardless of that, at
Yeah.
least neither of you sounds like you're having, major issues from it. But it just goes to say that there's
I
stuff
did-
out there still.
I did repeat the test today under her supervision. It was still negative.
I do love it when they call into question our clinical abilities.
Yeah.
Well, at least she can't blame you for giving it to her. So
No.
True.
that would have happened at my house.
No, but actually, two trips ago, I did get COVID, and I actually got the monoclonal antibody treatment. So I don't have a good track record in this regard. Now I'll mute.
Well, if there's nothing else on opioids, then we can jump down to body art fees. So practitioner, establishment, and apprentice. The different types of fees that we have for the permitting and plans for body art. And just a little bit around, like we talked about previously, like trying to kind of, we'll call it, review and chip away at the different types of fees that we have for the different types of permits that we have for, related to Board of Health, whether it be food establishments, septics, body art, so on and so forth. As kind of the year progresses, even if it goes into next year, knowing that at certain times might be busier than others, or there's bigger chunks of fees, body arts, we'll call it relatively small in terms of like the number of line items and types of permits. But this came up, I don't know, Nancy, if you want to give a little insight in terms of, because you and Beth are the unlucky ones who have been pulling together that pretty chart that you sent over to us that have the different towns nearby and the various fees or no fees, depending on what we're talking about. And I think the one that caught your eye for the body art specifically was around the fact that looking at the fees, where our fees stood compared to other towns, and that the Apprentice, we're one of the towns that doesn't have a fee associated to a body art apprentice.
Correct. We have quite a few, don't we, Devon? Quite a few practitioners, not that many establishments, but we're finding out that they are allowing an apprentice in there. So should we be charging the apprentice or just let her or him go in?
Is there, I guess,
Um,
first question I have, because it's been some time since we've looked at anything body art related, because like you said, it's not like we have a ton of body art establishments in town in the first place, let alone practitioners. I guess, is there, taking a fee off the table, is there a separate permit, license, whatever you want to call it, specific to an apprentice? We'll start, I guess that's my first question. Or
No,
is it,
so the application,
yeah,
the
sorry.
application, you would check off establishment, practitioner, apprentice, whatever it is you're applying for.
Okay,
And then you will get a separate one for the establishment. But when it comes to the practitioner, if it's an apprentice, we will add that. We'll add the word apprentice.
okay. So we're at least tracking if someone's an apprentice, we're just not charging.
Correct,
For an
right
apprentice,
now.
okay.
We're not- Right. As you can see, some of the reviews, actually, everyone is pretty much higher than Grafton.
Nancy, can you just, I might have missed it. So is the body art plan review, like pre them opening and then the establishment once they're opened?
Correct.
Okay,
And then each individual has their own license, as it were,
Practitioner, yeah,
right.
yes,
And those
within
are-
the establishment. So, okay.
And those are annual fees,
yes.
Okay.
less the review, because the review is a one-time.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, Dan?
Yeah, this is Dan. This chart is very helpful, by the way, thanks.
Mhm.
It looks like it's been a while since we've reviewed or increased them, and I think we should catch up with everybody else in the medium spot at least, and I would suggest going 200, 200, 100, and then 50 for the plan review, 200, establishment 200, practitioner 100, and a body apprentice and apprentice 50. But that's just my idea. People might differ.
I think that's
The
actually,
other alliance town, I'm sorry. The other alliance town that is not on there is West Boylston. Their practitioner is 100. Their apprentice is 75. Devon, I don't have their establishment.
Yes, the establishment is $200. No, actually it's actually $200. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Getting feedback from someone. I don't know who it is. Any other thoughts in terms of, I know Dan mentioned like getting closer to 200 for the plan, 200 for the establishment, 100 for practitioner, 50 for the apprentice.
Yeah, My only question would be, I'm not sure why there'd be a charge for the apprentice, you know, in the sense that if you use the medical model, we have, you know, students and interns and residents. And they're, you know, there's not a separate charge for that. You know, they're not licensed, they're there under the supervision of the practitioner who's in charge. You know, I don't know. I have no knowledge of body art.
I was just thinking the same thing because when you were
Nor do
mentioning,
nor do I choose to have any knowledge about it.
I was just sitting there thinking the same thing, like when you start talking about how medical world works and veterinary, et cetera, similar type of
Sure,
situation
yeah.
where there's that oversight. I don't know enough either as to like if there's an apprentice, one would think if you're an apprentice of anything, plumbing, intern for medical, resident, whatever the case may be, student, there's someone that's watching over you. You're not
And that person
on
is
your own.
charging, and that person is charging the professional fee for the service. So it's not a separate charge from the apprentice.
And you're operating underneath that person's license. They take responsibility for you, essentially.
Correct. How it applies to body art, I have no idea.
Yeah, this is Dan again. So if the apprentice is not getting reimbursed or paid, then maybe there shouldn't be a fee. I don't know enough about the industry yet.
And it looks like only one town is charging apprentices. It looks like only Millbury.
Sarah says they don't get paid as an apprentice. I say I know a couple people who are friends with tattoo artists that have been in industry for some time that I could also ask if we want another point. I personally don't think they get paid either.
So perhaps,
And what's for?
perhaps 200.
Sorry, Dan. The apprentice for West Boylston is 75.
Paid in
And-
knowledge and experience. Probably.
There's a lot of paperwork that goes with, Devon, you know.
Well-
We look at it and then we have him look at it. A lot of attachments to the application.
Actually, the apprentice submits just as much paperwork as a practitioner. And I think it's more of a fee just to process the paperwork and to take care of everything, because the apprentice also receives a permit, which allows them to do some supervised work depending on their competence, on how good they're doing their work. I could actually find out if there's any kind of compensation. I think all apprentices may be treated differently. But for the most part, they're pretty excited to pay that fee to get that permit. That's like a step closer to being a practitioner and getting their hours.
So we shouldn't deny them
No, we
The-
shouldn't deny them.
the excitement of getting the permit.
Well, we definitely want to get them the permit still, because we
Yes,
want to make
yes,
sure. It's a matter of if we're charging them for said permit or not.
Well, I think it'll be a way of, because as Nancy stated recently, at the one tattoo place in Grafton, there's been a lot of apprentices coming in. And if they know this is the one town they can come to not have to pay a fee, just submit the paperwork. why not work under the practitioner there? Is that me?
No,
Nancy, I think it's your
I
phone.
think it's Nancy.
Yeah.
I'm looking on the Brady Bunch board here going like,
I know.
"It's not on mute."
I don't want to mute her though, because then I have to tell her, unmute yourself.
It's the phone and the computer, both on.
I mean, I think to Dan's point, if we were to raise the fees to a little bit higher, that's a little bit more aligned with some of the other cities and towns. I mean, the practitioners could then, I imagine they could ask the apprentices to pay them a portion. But they'd still have to do the permitting process, even if they didn't have to pay for it. Just to your point, Yvonne, we might see more people more willing to come and learn in Grafton because there's not a fee associated.
But $50 a year is not an exorbitant amount.
That's
either.
true.
So,
If they're getting paid, I guess if they're not getting paid, maybe.
right. So I think we either should table this till next month or hold off on the apprentice piece until we find out just a little bit more about it. And vote on the other three. I don't know. What do you think, Karen?
I mean, I'm fine either way with a heavy cat jumping on my lap. Right when you asked me that. I just look to, Jen, Austin, Bill, any thoughts?
I think maybe 50 is a bit steep for the apprentice if we are going to charge them. Say maybe 25 if we're going to charge them. But I'm okay with also not charging the apprentices if they're not getting paid. But I understand that there's also you guys have to process the paperwork, and it sounds like it's just as much paperwork. So I can see a fee being warranted. But I'm on the fence about what the apprentice fee should be. But I do also think that we should raise the the establishment, the plan preview, and the practitioner fees. And I did like Dan's idea of 200, 200, and 100. And that would put us right in line with all the other towns anyway.
I agree with Austin. I think if we went with that amount, and I would like to know if the apprentices get paid so we can kind of be fair as well if we were to establish a fee. So maybe we table that one for next time with just a little bit more information to come and then make a decision on the other three.
I'll do some inquiries.
Also, do we know how long the apprentice is an apprentice?
That's true.
I mean, if they're there for a week, that's one thing. If they're there for 6 months, then it would be a different thing.
That's a great question.
I mean, one would think apprentice taking location off the table. But if you're going to spend all the time and effort, even if there's no money associated to a permit application for you, you would think both from the apprentice's side of the world and the shop/practitioner side of the world, they're not going to want them there for like a week, a month, etc., unless there was some extenuating circumstances that were not foreseen. So one would assume one's not just apprenticing for a month, maybe even 6 months. It could be, I don't even know. It could be a year. It could be a couple of years. Oh, like
It's determined
Could be a
about
number of hours or
yeah,
something like that.
it's definitely based on
Yeah.
it's definitely based on about 1,000 or more hours. That's what they have to do. Yeah.
yeah, which I mean, for the most part, you probably, unless someone has to or chooses to move, to another town or shop partway through their apprenticeship, you would think that they would try to stay in the same place with the clientele, et cetera, but I mean, we all know that people have to move for other reasons and stuff, so yeah, but you can't.
That said, I did not get paid for any of my clinical rotations, nor did you, Dr. Mueller, I'm certain. So I don't know if they get paid. So yeah, that would be helpful.
Dan.
So if I may, I'd like to make a motion that we raise the town of Grafton raises the body art plan review fee to $200 from $100. The body art establishment fee, annual fee from $100 to $200. And the body art practitioner fee from $50 to $100. And that we hold off temporarily on making a decision on the apprentice, body art apprentice for another month or two.
Right, is there a second?
This is Bill Muller. I second that.
All right, roll call vote, everyone.
Dan Finn, aye.
Bill Muller, aye.
Austin Magnet, aye.
Jen Maynard, aye.
Karen Gwiazdowski, Govin, aye. All right, thank you everyone for that.
And that will take effect in 2025.
Probably in June and July of 2025, the fiscal year. I don't know.
Does that start in a
Yeah,
month?
Nancy, when do those fees
Yeah,
annualize?
Would it be January 1st?
there, Nancy.
Usually renewals are at the beginning of every year.
Yeah.
Thank you, Devon.
You're welcome.
All right, so now we have minutes. We only have two. We have April 10th, 2024. Dan, I saw you off mute.
I am. This is Dan Finn. I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes of the Grafton Board of Health meeting of April 10th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Jen Maynard will second that motion.
All right, roll call vote.
Dan Finn, aye.
Jen Maynard, aye.
I will abstain. I wasn't there for the April meeting. Do we lose Bill?
I think, is he still there? Oh, there he is.
Bill? Do you want to accept the minutes for April?
Yes, I do. I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
We've all been there where it's like, I'm trying to get off mute, hold on.
It's a very Monday.
Yeah. Aaron Gwiazdowski, Govin, aye. All right. May 6th, 2024.
This is Dan Finn. I would like to make a motion to accept the minutes of the Grafton Board of Health for May 6th, 2024.
There a second?
It's Bill Muller. I second that.
Roll call vote.
Dan Finn, aye.
Bill Muller, aye.
Austin Magnet, aye.
Jen Maynard abstain.
Karen Gwiazdowski, Govin, aye. All right, mail and correspondence. I didn't see anything, but I've been in meetings, so if anything came through fairly late, I apologize, but I didn't see it. Old new business, we already touched on tick season, mosquito season. Don't have anything else there. Let's see. Upcoming meetings, we've got, and these are all remote. July 1st, August 5th, September 9th, October 7th, November 4th, and December 2nd. All right, is there anything else? 'Cause that was it on the agenda for tonight.
Karen, I have a question.
Yep.
Going forward, excuse me. I know you have not increased the fees in a while. Every meeting coming up, would you like to add a new category?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, as long as we have enough notice in advance, especially, I mean, something like body art, there were only like 4 rows total. to review, but something like food establishment where there's like, 2/3 of a page on that chart of different fees, you might want to either try to break that down better or give us a good amount of advance notice on which ones we're gonna go after for review, just so that way we don't come into the meeting going like, yeah, I don't know, didn't have a chance to review it, only got to do like an eighth of it or something, because I know we're all busy. So
If you want, we can do the, like disposal works installers, rubbish hauler, septic hauler, the easy ones first.
yeah,
Maybe start with the ones that are the highest like difference. Like if one town's really, really high, or all the other towns are really, really high, and we're still really low. Start with those. I don't know.
yeah, no, I agree. Versus like focusing on something where we're like,
$10
we're
off.
100 and everyone else is like 110.
Exactly.
Or and I'm not saying there's anything even like that, because I did not have time to look at everyone and all the other types. But yeah, probably best to look at, focus, maybe, Nancy Beth, take a quick look and say like, hey, looking at reasonable size groupings to discuss at a meeting, these are the ones that you would propose would be the furthest discrepancy, based, because you all know best, along with like Devon, like how much paperwork and time and back and forth and review it is for some of these. And if there's a big enough discrepancy, not 100 versus 110, like my example, then let's try to focus on those. I'd say first as like the next bucket or buckets, like I said, while keeping in mind something reasonable for like number of them to discuss in any given meeting.
Exactly.
Dan. Oh, you're on mute.
I do have a question for you. It's that time of year. Is anyone's term as a member of the Board of Health up for reappointment?
Mine is.
And mine and Jen's.
And has the select board checked in with anybody?
Well, we've all had to put in back to Cindy as yes or no, we want to consider reappointment, but then the select board's workshop is supposed to just like to go through reappointments, not just for Board of Health, but like old boards and committees that are appointed by them. Is like supposed to be next Tuesday, the 11th.
Okay.
But no clue as to, beyond the fact that the three of us were up for reappointment, no clue as to did anyone else apply or anything like that. No idea.
And they're not, at this time, they're not looking for a recommendation from the other members of the board or anything like that?
No.
No, we can't give you a vote of confidence.
No.
Did-
Actually, it actually explicitly in their meeting tomorrow, they're going over the process, because I was looking ahead at the agenda because I didn't know if they were doing the reappointment tomorrow or like in a future one.
2 weeks.
Tomorrow is like about the process that they agreed to.
Yeah.
And then I think the 11th is supposed to be the actual like list.
Yeah.
To review and stuff.
Yeah.
But
To that end, Nancy, they encourage, if folks are re-signing, and hopefully we're all re-signing. But if folks are gonna be rejoining, they encouraged us to attend the Board of Health, the Select Board meeting next week. If the three of us were to attend, is that a quorum? Is that a problem? Should we, if somebody abstain? Rules.
Yeah, well, if I can,
Good point.
Andrew, if I can talk about that. It's okay for all of you to show up to a meeting. You just can't talk about anything the Board of Health talked about.
yeah,
Right,
we
so you can
can't-
all be there, that's not a problem, but if you start talking about fees, that's a quorum.
Yeah, we
You
can't
go
talk about
so-
COVID or something as a group
Yeah,
or anything
yeah,
like
you-
that or
Yeah, you
whatever.
can't talk any business that, well,
Got
that has come up to the board or might come up to the board. You can talk about the weather, you can talk about Celtics, you can talk about whatever you want.
Talk
But
about
again,
yourself.
that's, right, yeah, but that has to be three of you together.
No apprentice talk.
no apprentice talks. Oh, yeah.
We will
So
not.
that's, so you can all get together. You just can't talk.
Okay,
That's a violation.
thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
I know when we were doing the.
This is a good
opioid
question, though,
settlement
Jen.
stuff, We were like, nope, one of you don't go. I was like, no, you can go.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Right, exactly, so.
All right, there's nothing.
Really quick, and just as an aside, same thing pertains to emails. So if three of you would, if you just send another email to the whole board and say, yeah, I just have another question about the apprentice, that's against the rules,
So we gotta
right?
vote.
You can talk about other things,
That makes
sending it
sense.
all out, but you can't talk about, yeah. I forgot to ask last night, do you think we're gonna change the fee to by $10 or $100? That's against the open meeting law.
That makes sense.
All right, well, if they're, oh, Dan,
Talking about other things, it's nice that it's still light out and warm and not raining. So in that light, so to speak, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll second that motion to adjourn the meeting.
Not a
roll
game
call
on.
vote.
Or it rains again.
Roll call vote.
Dan Finn, aye.
Bill Muller, aye.
Austin Magnet, aye.
Jen Maynard, aye.
Karen Gwizdowski, Govin, aye. All right, well, thank you, everyone. Enjoy the weather, it sounds like, and it's still being light out. Sounds like today, tomorrow, and Wednesday are supposed to be okay, but then it's supposed to kind of go downhill, rainy and a little bit cooler, so.
Yeah.
But we need some rain. We don't, you know.
Yeah.
I know, I say it, and I'm sitting there going, ugh.
Yeah, the grass has to keep growing, I guess.
It's growing plenty, okay? All right.
Good night, everybody.
everyone.
Okay, bye
Bye.
everyone.
Good night.
Bye.